Our focus is on simplicity, clarity, and performance, without giving up the power developers think. Modular toolkit works well together, but it can also scale on its own. First-class database drivers built into the clears out the brain back each abstraction that we don't control. No critical dependencies, not even reactive. Starting with a fork of Preact, which is a mature virtual DOM library already used heavily in top 5 Google and others. If you're not already familiar with Preact, it's built to be remove enough to keep it under its 3 kilobyte threshold, if I recall. Preact is fascinating. Cool to see them using that as a building block, but the important piece here isn't Preact, it's fork. They want everything to be owned by this one piece. Whoever wished for a development experience that's lighter, faster, and more aligned with how the web actually works, Remix Phase 3 is going to be built for you. This is another one of the things I think Remix did really well. If you've ever seen one of Ryan Florence's talks, you understand. He cares so deeply about how the web and the browser interact and the nature of how data is loaded into the web page and how interfacing with the web works. He deeply cares about it. He doesn't have a strong positive or negative stance on web standards. He just thinks we should follow them because they exist. And he has given some of my favorite talks ever. Of my top 5 talks ever, he did 2 of them. Ryan cares very, very deeply about doing that type of thing right. And every time a change happens with the dependencies he relies on, he has to obsess over the details to make sure it doesn't break the delicate relationship between the server, the browser, and the user. But if he owns the whole thing, his obsession over the details can be turned into ownership of the details, which is something he's wanted for a long time. Where this gets really interesting, though, is the principles. They are doing things different in a way that I've realized, but I haven't seen them commit to. It's very exciting. The first point here, you understand model first point, and fundamental shifts. Optimizing source code, all of these frameworks are when you want to stream a generated response or you want to update the UI whenever new token comes in. All of them suck. I have had to fight React Router. I've had to fight Next.js. I even had to fight Solid in Svelte. Right? The slowest and worst performing AI product I've ever used was written in Svelte. So none of these tools work as well. None of them provide the primitives that make building an AI product good. And few of them provide the pieces that make building with AI good either. As such, we kind of just use React because it's what there's the most source code available, which is why all the models can do it better. But if the frameworks look to be simple, concise, and follow either web standards or really simple single path like solutions, LLMs could theoretically get really good at these more minimal frameworks, as long as they provide a solution to every problem and they don't pull in random shit all the time. The idea of a framework built around models, both to make products for LLMs better and also to make developing against it with LLMs better, is actually really exciting. It's why I think Convex is really good now more than ever, because there's proper infrastructure as code. So everything you'd want to do is just source code, which means the LLM can generate stuff much more effectively. It's interesting to see someone building with that in mind from the start, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. The next point is building on web APIs. I already talked about this, but they really like these standards. Not that they think that they are great, but they think it is great they exist, and they want to use them as much as they can. So rather than doing different patterns on the server versus the client, they want to use web APIs as much as possible, so you don't have to remember there's a different version of this thing when you're in the node file versus when you're in the client file. Another point I think is really cool is the religiously runtime piece. They don't want to use a bunch of compiler tricks to make stuff work. As incredible and elegant and powerful as server components are, they require very delicate intervention from the bundler to split things up properly and turn it into this weird machine that calls web APIs to fetch data from the server and embed it in the right place in the browser. They don't want any of that. They want the code you write to be very, very close to the code you run. Ideally, the only difference is you move the type definitions and you turn the JSX into real functions. also, as I mentioned before, really want to avoid dependencies. They're tired of dealing with other people's roadmaps. Choose them wisely, wrap them completely, and expect to replace most of them with your own package eventually. The goal is 0. Fascinating. I'm excited to see where that goes for them. Point 5 is that they demand composition. Abstraction should be single purpose and replaceable. Composition abstraction is easy to add and remove from an existing program. Every package must be useful and documented independent of any other context. New features should first be attempted in a new package. If impossible, attempt to break up the existing packages to make it more composable. However, tightly coupled modules that almost always change together in both directions should be moved to the same package. And the last point, distribute cohesively. Extremely composable ecosystems are difficult to learn and use. Therefore, the package will be wrapped up in a single package as dependencies and then re-exported as a single toolbox. Exciting. This is a very, very promising future. As I hinted at throughout, I had a long chat with Ryan about this, and he got me pretty hyped about the way he's thinking about things. The framing I gave that he ended up really agreeing with was, nobody's really rethought Express since React and Python. We had thought a lot about what does it look like to run React on the server. We've thought a lot about the shape of the API using things like gRPC. But the idea of a route hasn't been challenged meaningfully. In the idea of a server-side framework that is focused not just on responding with JSON or HTML files, but is focused on responding with unique, useful context within an immediate application. There hasn't really been an application-first Express that has all the stuff that we need. And that's one of the parts they're thinking. And then when you do that, if you start from the server that takes in the request to the URL, and you rethink everything from there to the user's response to the thing that renders in their browser, you realize you need to rethink a lot of layers along the way there. And I already told chat, what about Fastify? Fastify has basically the exact same API as Express. I love that. I really do. I use it for a ton of stuff. But it isn't a replacement or a rethinking of Express. It is just a faster version of Express. We haven't rethought these things before. And that's what's exciting here is after the last decade of building this way, using this huge pile of tools across the system built off of stuff, no one sat down and tried to pick the best parts. You've had things like Fun that did this to Node, but there is things for compatibility if they are on new features. No one's done this for the set of tools we build applications with. And no, your favorite random server-side thing like Elysia or Hano is not this either. All of these are rough abstractions on serving rights. None of these are rethinking. None of these are attempts to change how a URL becomes an experience. And I really like the idea of starting from first principles to make building good applications and not just for humans, but for LLMs too. Now is one of the last moments this can happen. And I am very excited to see what they end up doing with it. And I'm even more excited to see how the market responds to it. Someone in chat just said the key piece, new Rails. That is how Ryan framed it. What if we built something like Rails, but instead of it trying really hard to look like English and run like shit, it instead tried to use web standards to make great experiences. If instead of pretending the browser was useless and ignoring it, it built using the browser standards as a shared language between the server and the client. What if we really deeply rethought how we build the web with JavaScript, using everything we've learned over the last 10 years? And I am so excited to see if they can pull it off. Genuinely. Not meant to be a slight in even the littlest bits towards Panstack start and Panstack stuff that Taylor's doing. I love all of his work. Panstack Router is super promising. It was one of our top picks for what we'll end up doing for T3 Chat. Nor is it a slight at Next.js, which funny enough, for T3 Chat, we're using Next.js alongside React Router. It's a hilarious stack, but we're doing it. It works great. I'm excited to see where all of these things go, but I'm really excited to see people who know what is great and terrible about both the web and the tools we use to build for it, taking everything they've learned and trying to distill it into a single solution. And even if it ends up failing, which statistically speaking it probably will, we will still learn so much from it. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. So, my message to Ryan, Michael, and everyone else working on this is that you have to pull back. I am so excited to see where this goes, and I hope you'll continue to keep me in the loop as the project develops. The future of the web is brighter than ever, and And I am so excited to see people who have been shepherding it for the last 10 years take the opportunity to look forward and figure out what the next 10 years look like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I way overhyping this thing that doesn't exist, or is there a real cool opportunity here? Curious what y'all think. Until next time, peace out.